What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here. We're repping America, the center, and common sense. And this one goes out to all the veterans. Keep on popping in the free world. So today we're just going to kick this off because, of course, we just had a big election. Believe it or not, we're still counting the fucking things. The reason we're counting is early ballots, mail-in ballots, paper ballots, whatever you want to call them. It's gumming up the works. But what really gummed up the works was Mr. Trump, former President Trump, and his cult of personality. You know, I think he did a great job. I voted for him in 2020. You know, I think he had the right philosophies, some of the right policies. He kept the world quiet. He got peace deals done in Israel. You know, make America great again. Great, cool, awesome. America first, awesome. You know, he wanted to stiffen up the border, awesome. But in losing, he revealed himself to be a narcissist, to be a self-interested narcissist. And he's willing to drag down the party. And I believe he did. A lot of the candidates that he backed lost. They got the L. You know, and candidates who spoke about the election of 2020, which I myself have doubts, and I'll explore those further at another time, they shot themselves in the foot. And then the Democrats relied on the same cheesy ploys that they always do. Empty promises. Oh, we're going to forgive your college debt. We're going to save the future. And people bought into it. And people like George Soros funded certain people. And again, you know, voting is a right. But it's also something that you need to earn. And you earn that by going to the polling place. Yes, there were absentee ballots for military and senior citizens and people who worked. You know, we filled out a ballot. It went in. There were a handful of them. They were counted by hand. The signatures were verified. Now we're just doing that on a mass level. We have no control. We have ballots that just sit in mailboxes. We have ballots that sit in drop boxes. We have all kinds of stuff that goes haywire, and you wonder why people are questioning the election. And they're questioning it right now because it's taking so long. The longer it goes on, you know, before you filled out a ballot, you know, you had shown your ID, you filled out a ballot, they stuck it in a box. That box was then fed into a machine, or the ballots were fed into a machine, and they were counted, and we knew the results. But that's not to say that I think this election had any rigs or anything like that. I'm going to start it with this one here. Ron DeSantis is ending Trump's political career by simply not responding. And that goes back to what I was saying. I believe that Trump has tanked the party. One of the pieces of evidence for that is DeSantis did very well down in Florida, and a lot of Trump-backed candidates lost. Yeah, you know what? For me, it serves the purpose. You know, the Democrats are going to continue to just drag the country down and make themselves look bad. And the Republicans are going to spout stupid shit. And that's where Purple State comes in. Yeah. Let's look at some pictures. All right, so let's start with, you know, a couple of people who passed recently. Comedian Gallagher died at the age of 76. He was one of my favorites. He was clean. He was wacky, a little political, a little cerebral. I think he's the reason why I love Eddie Izzard, the English comedian, so much, because he would challenge you a little bit. But he was also just goofy, you know? I remember I saw him live at Knott's Berry Farm, and he suspended 2 watermelons high up on these rafters, on these scaffolding. And then, you know, he electronically released them, and the 2 watermelons smashed together. And every 4th of July, I blow up watermelons, you know? And we've lost a lot of my favorite comedians. So if Eddie, if you're out there listening, take care of yourself, as we can't afford to lose anymore. We also lost Kevin Conroy. Might not be very well known to you, but he was the voice behind the Batman animated series, one of the best television shows ever. I mean, forget animated, non-animated, scripted, all that BS. I mean, that was just a good show. Babylon Bee even got into it. Experts confirmed Batman the animated series was the pinnacle of human civilization. Yep. He will be missed because, he became the voice of Batman. He became the unified voice of Batman across, different movies and shows. So, and Gallagher, I think he was a trailblazing comedian. It's just sad to see both of them go. They had good lives, though. So, we're going to jump into what did he say? Or what did they say? I can't even remember the titles of my own segments. I hope that's one of the things you like about me, although it doesn't seem like many people like me. But Spanish language misinformation. This was an excuse that they used after the 2020 election. I don't really know where that came from, but CNN, disinformation reporter, that's why it's in here, disinformation reporter, really? They failed to cite a single instance of any disinformation. And they brought it back up again to pre-explain away the GOP gains. Because they had assumed, it was going to be a red wave, Red wave didn't exactly happen. Maybe it was a trickle. I don't know. I don't fucking care. I didn't see very much purple. There's a few purples out there. Maybe we'll talk about them when everything's all official. But yeah, they were pre-explaining away their gains because of Spanish language misinformation. In that article, they say, how else but organized disinformation campaigns to explain Republicans taking non-white votes from Democrats when Republicans won't even say Latinx. Non-white voters also don't say Latinx. Nobody says that. That is like a 1% thing. 1% of people actually use that term and actually like that term. They're Hispanics. That's what they are. If we could differentiate between the two of them, they would prefer that. They would also, something like 20% would just prefer American. Like, they don't even want to have like a group. And 1% likes Latinx. But sure, that's the mind-boggling part of it. It's not that the Democrats support things that are opposite of Hispanic voters' desires in life. Rainn Wilson changed his name to Rainfall Heat Wave Extreme Winter to protest climate change. That's I will give him this. It's better than going up to people in traffic and drilling holes in their tires or gluing themselves to a Van Gogh, whatever. Depends on what country you're in. This one just blew my mind. Katy Perry is getting slammed after voting for Rick Caruso, a longtime Republican who only recently turned Democrat. So that's okay. So this is what we need more of, folks. We need more Rick Carusos. We need people to stand up and saying, "Hey, look, I got to go to a different party because this party really fundamentally represents something that I don't stand for," and that's why Purple State exists. Because I don't find solace in either side. I don't find any solace in their personalities, and they have these just giant holes in their philosophies that I can't support. I mean, I'm a registered independent because I can't support what the Republicans do and say about gay marriage, about gay rights, and about abortion. Those are some huge issues to me. But I can't be over on the Democrats because I believe the Second Amendment is the most important thing in the world. Not just because I like guns and I like go shoot stuff. I do. I do blow up a lot of stuff with I did. I don't so much anymore. But it's about protecting the country. It's about protecting my family. I feel like I have the right to defend myself against criminals, even if those criminals are my own government. The blood of the patriots, that's what it is. I mean, the American Revolution, whatever. World Cup ambassador calls homosexuality damage in the mind. Talk about it. What the fuck is this person talking about? Like, seriously? Seriously, bro? Really? They will accept, Qatar will accept gay visitors, but they have to accept our rules. Oh, okay. Yeah, homosexuality is haram. It's forbidden. All right. Yeah, and they've come under sustained fire over their human rights, including the treatment of foreign workers and their stances on women's rights. And we're putting the World Cup there? Man, the World Cup means the world to me. I get up to watch those games. I've had recent World Cups where I didn't miss a single game. It didn't matter who it was. It could be France versus Germany, two of my biggest foes. I'm still watching that game. It could be two countries I only recently heard of, and I'd still watch the game. But this really makes it hard, man. This really makes it hard. World Cup, NBA, NFL, MLB. You know, just shit together. So here they're talking about the late ballot returns, and these people are saying that it happens when you and your fellow election deniers. Really? Okay. They're talking to one particular candidate here. They tell Republicans to drop off their early ballots at polling places because they can't trust the mail or a drop box. Nobody told me, but I dropped it off at a polling place. But that's the problem. Everything you're seeing there with those early ballots, and they needed to be counted and all that. That's the problem. That's why we need to return to our pre-COVID days. Joe Biden said Elon Musk is worth being looked into as a national security threat. Right. Okay. Chicago police took 2 hours to respond after shots fired during an attempted business burglary. 2 hours. And you read the article and you find out that they have backlog status. In 2021, police districts were in backlog or radio assignments pending 11,000 times, which is the same total as 2019 and 2020 combined. Now, of course, statistically, it's hard because there's a lot of variables in there. But 11,000 times, they couldn't handle a call in one city. That's where the liberal left Democrat policies are backfiring, but yet nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to admit it. Everybody wants to be so blinded to the truth by the fact that they're aligned with that side. I mean, come on. Politics, sports, war, all of that kind of stuff. It's all sort of the same. Yeah, you stick with your team, but if your team's going bad, you got to call them out. You have to call them out. If something's not going to work, you have to say that's not going to work. And if they do it, despite your objections, then don't vote for them. Don't reward them. Don't go, well, hey, mass reduce racism. A new study in the New England Journal of Medicine purports to show that mask policies in school work to contain COVID, but that's not all. The authors conclude, we believe that universal masking may be especially useful for mitigating effects of structural racism in school. I have no idea how they could potentially come to that understanding when everybody's forehead is still being shown. It is not only is it stupid, but it's so racist to think that, like, hey, if you just put a mask on a black kid, he's going to get treated like a white kid. Seriously? You really think that the problem is that, like, easily fixed? All right, a mask. Cool. Colorado approved a measure to legalize magic mushrooms, but shot down 3 ballot measures aimed at expanding access to alcohol. Okay? Oh, wow. All right, that's like saying you left the gun with the 10-year-old, not the 9-year-old. Come on. You know, we need educated voters. We need people who are understanding the truth. Yes, there may be some benefits to magic mushrooms, but magic mushrooms as a whole can make people, oh man, as somebody I know, and under a bad trip, I was convinced I was going to have to kill the UPS driver if he showed up. All right? So magic mushrooms are not to be trifled with or truffled with. That was puntastic. But yeah, they cause anxiety, panic attacks, fear, paranoia. And yeah, I don't know if my current problems are tied to that, but wow. All right, so now 2 states have done it. I think it's Oregon and Colorado. Man, you know, New York is outdoing Florida with its crime, and Oregon and now Colorado are outdoing California with their lefty crazy shit. Whoa, spicy times. Democrats give the nuclear codes to a dementia patient and send a stroke victim to the Senate. Okay. Look, man, I think I said it a couple weeks ago, but if I really had to choose, I would have gone with Fetterman over Oz. I mean, you can't just simply, you know, assume that somebody who had a stroke is not a candidate who cannot get things done. I mean, come on. Stephen Hawking, anyone? I mean, dude, talk about disabilities, but the man's mind still worked. Now, I don't really expect much out of Fetterman. All right. Personally, I don't really buy either one of those candidates. But whatever. But yeah, give nuclear codes to the dementia patient. Thank God that could be pretty sure that Biden's just a puppet. This was great. You know, they invented the bottomless Pinocchio there at the New York Post, or was it Washington Post, excuse me. Washington Post. You know, it was about Trump telling the same lie more than 20 times, and then you get a bottomless Pinocchio. And now your boy Biden's gotten it. You know? And he's gotten it for a couple of different things. Now, I know, Trump had more. I get it. But, you know, his recent Social Security lie. His claims about gasoline being $5 a gallon when he took office. Well, it wasn't. It was somewhere around like $2.48. So, you know, not exactly. Well, what are we looking at here? Oh, there we go. There we go. But anyhow, that's what one of the philosophies behind Purple is not following a person or a letter, but the ideas. If we are just going to continually live in a post-truth world, then we're going to get what we deserve. They are going to keep what they have, and we are going to get what we deserve. And I mean, that's the bottom line. That's what we need to start looking at. At every level of government, we need to start looking at that. If we're just going to accept these lies to make ourselves feel better, look, Biden has done a shitty job. All right, Afghanistan, the Ukraine invasion, our energy costs, inflation. He is not doing anything to fix that. Look at the border. Look at the drug epidemic. 100,000 people died of drug overdose. And how many other people overdosed and were revived? Those are the people you don't think about. What was the damage done there? How many walking wounded do we need to have before we say, hey, we have a problem. We need to do something about it. And it doesn't matter if that person has an R or a D next to their name. Who is going to do something about the problems that are affecting America? Or are they just going to continue what they're doing now, which is just placating people for votes? So George Soros had a few people that he was sponsoring. And it's talking here about the way he injects money into PACs that usually dissolve after the election because they're really just there to get, the votes in strategic places. Because that's what they do. They target prosecutor races. They look where the middle of the road or the hard on crime, tough on crime prosecutors are, or small areas that could be overflowed with money, or areas where everybody loves the one guy or they're fine with the one guy, so only one guy is running, and then they slam their guy in there. He's the guy behind Kim Fox, George Gascon, and all of those. And his plan, to me, echoes that super secret cabal that everybody talks about. And they have this plan for population control. And it does seem to fit what's going on. Because if the world's in flames, less people have babies. And the elderly get picked off by one by one. And they act as though the police and our success, or your success, are the only reasons for crime. They pretend that a thug who would prostitute his own siblings is only doing it because, Brad Pitt makes millions. So it's unequal. So he has to do that. That armed robber who slaughtered a family, it's only there. It only happened because the police exist and they're wholly oppressive. That's the only reason for it. The reality is that people are lazy and greedy, and some would rather take than earn. Rogue cops and rogue prosecutors, judges in courts that are racist, they need to be stamped out. But electing DAs who side with criminals are not the answer. That's the simple truth. They're not the answer. The money that the money Soros and his evil ilk spend could be better spent on training officers. They could train them to handle mental crises, to de-escalate better. But hey, abolishing the police will abolish police brutality. But, then the streets are just going to unleash their brutality on the world. But then again, possibly that's what they want. Destroy the world and rebuild it in your image. But his image is un-American. And it rewards people who would rather take than earn. AOC says crime is down, except in the subways where the police was increased. See, this is that nutty left-wing shit right there. This is that George Soros way of thinking. A lot of people think crime is up. Yeah. Sure. Shootings are down 12%. Murders are down 14%. But then again, everybody's just getting the shit beat out of them. And people are dying in different ways. Maybe you're not having as many gang shootouts or as many shooting armed robberies, but now it's just smash and grab. It's just car theft. It's just property crimes. Look, felony assaults, rapes, and robberies are all up double digits. So crime overall is up 31 points in New York City. As of late October, subway crime was up 41%. So yeah, you say, look, it's down here, but it's up here. A girl, 10 years old, was repeatedly punched in the face. Her mom, 36, and a 10-year-old girl were aboard a northbound 5 train when a woman came up and started punching them. How do you live in that society? Yes. Your odds of that happening to you are so low. Yeah, but everybody has to live with the fear. Biden student loan debt con job fooled Gen Z for the midterms. Will the kids wake up? This is what I went through with Clinton. When Clinton promised that if you worked 40 hours, your employer would pay for your insurance. And our hours got cut to the point where it was no longer worth even working. Yeah, that really led to a lot of good for me. But this is it again. This is it. Hey, Gen Z, how does it feel getting conned by the ultimate boomer, Joe Biden? Yeah. Now, of course, what they're going to say is that it's the conservatives' fault for blocking it. By promising young people massive debt relief, he knew the courts would strike down. He likely helped save Democrats at the midterms. Yeah. The press secretary, we strongly disagree with the district court's ruling. How? You're using a rule that applied to the armed forces and you're trying to apply it to everybody. I don't see what's wrong with that. Oh, well, we will never stop fighting for hardworking Americans. Really? Really? How do you, when you're forgiving the debts of people who earn $100,000 a year, you're not exactly helping Americans most in need. Because some of that money could be going to actually helping people. Trade school debt. What about that? What about people who need rent relief or credit card relief? What about a lot of people who are upside down in their lives and they're doing everything well, but they didn't go to college. They weren't indoctrinated, right? That's what it was. You notice they want to just give this relief to people who went to college and more than likely were indoctrinated into more of a left-wing way of thinking. Yeah, that's what a lot of colleges do. A lot of the professors basically tell you, hey, our side is so right that whatever you do to the other side is acceptable. You don't need to apply human decency to people who aren't on our side. Yeah. See, right there, life-changing debt relief policy. It wasn't debt relief, it was college debt. In California, they're talking about reparations, but only reparations to black families who have a lineage to slavery, not just black people. See, it's targeting certain people and excluding other people, and then saying we're here for all of those people. And you're not. You're going after your core group. You know where you get your votes. Young college people who just want more Democrat handouts. And here's a handout. Oh, no. It was illegal, and the mean Republicans took it away. Can't keep accepting this. Horror details. I saw this on like the U.S. Sun. I'm like, oh my God. As she used what? This has got to be the clickbait of the year. Because, yes, she was shot in the head and killed. And that's tragic. But it happened in Chile. So I don't know why I need to know about this. Except that it just keeps reinforcing, guns bad. We haven't had major shootings here. They don't want to talk about the shootings that happen every weekend in Chicago. But they need to remind you that guns are bad. So they're going to put this on there. And the bonus points it's clickbaitable. You can make it say, see? Look, right there in that little rectangle. As she used, what? Yeah. We can't keep accepting this, folks. The View will now just be 1 hour of hosts beating white women with sticks. Cool. Dear Twitter employees, just go find another job like you told us to do. Sincerely, Keystone Pipeliners. Yeah. And where's any on that? What's going on with that? I haven't heard much. The aftermath in Florida. The one place where it went right. Because they're being led by somebody who, no matter what you might think of DeSantis, he signed a law that said that you can't graduate high school until you've had a course in financial literacy. To me, that's game, set, match, because that's step one to fixing a lot of problems. Yeah. Incumbent Governor Stacey Abrams loses bid for re-election. Yeah. Election denier, right? Oh, no, she can't be. She's a Democrat. Selfish DeSantis takes entire red wave for himself. Again, disagree or not, I think he's got the best plan. And he's young. And that's something we need to start thinking about, I'm old, but I'm not as old as like the Bidens and the Pelosi's. And I'm sitting here telling you right now, the answers are straight down the middle. And if somebody like DeSantis becomes president and sees it that way, and he's one of the few, he's one of maybe the only person who can do that. He might be able to get some bipartisan support. He might. I'm just saying, he might. He stands a chance. Biden is obviously all the way on the left. He's attached himself to the far left, and Trump has attached himself to the far right. I think there's a gap for DeSantis. Trump bid to be DeSantis' VP pick. Off to a rocky start. Yeah, ain't that the freaking truth? All right, so looking at this wonderful political cartoon from Bronco, I have my favorites. Thankfully, this doesn't run on diesel. Yeah, we are running out of diesel. Oh, that's almost unimaginable. 2022, and we could run out of diesel? That really does not make sense. But he has taken just a wrecking ball to our economy. His future plans, his goals have just seized the oil company. And if they are jacking up the prices, if the oil companies are manipulating prices and all of that stuff, it's hard to blame them when they're being told, hey, look, the end game for me is that you are out of business. No matter how realistic it is, they're not going to put them out of business. I hope people realize that the focus is the wrong way. We need to figure out how to do what we do cleaner and cleaner every year, as much as possible. If we have coal-burning plants that are inefficient, we need to fix them, not tear them down. Because their plan for wind and solar may work in some areas, but it will literally fail. It's doomed to failure in other places. But they do it through their left-wing propaganda. Things like, oh, well, see, I'm talking bad about his green energy plan, so I'm a climate denier. And I'm worried that paper ballots are easily stolen and destroyed or submitted. So I'm an election denier. But as we've seen in this episode alone, they're crime deniers and truth deniers. It's not questioning something, like questioning the green energy plan or questioning the way we held our election this cycle and the last cycle. It's the actions. That's what needs to be behind it. See, questioning the green energy and questioning the election is not the same as putting policies in place that actually do damage. My thoughts are not damaging anything. My actions are what damages things. Their approach to the homelessness crisis has spawned more homeless. We have spent billions in California. We have more homeless. Their approach to crime has led to more crime. Then that's the truth. Maybe the demographics have changed, but look at New York, up, 31%? Subway crime up 41%? And that's part of the green energy. Oh, more people should use the subway, right? Their border policy has been an unmitigated failure. Absolute failure. And the repercussions of that failure have yet to be seen yet. As we've let in our fourth largest city, what are going to be the results? We don't even know. But nobody wants to use any sort of common sense and foresight to see that we need to clamp it down now? No. Their war on oil and the energy, on the heels of a pandemic when we needed all of our available manpower and resources, they want to shut all that down. Right now is not the time to try to go 100% green because that's not going to happen. They've left us broke and our future's in jeopardy. And when we had a chance to rein in these DAs here in California, they appointed his ally, Bonta and Gascon. They're responsible for this mess. The state attorney could step in and remove Gascon from certain cases. That's what he's there for. If we had elected somebody other than Bonta, could have solved it. Our government, whether it's the state or the federal, only works on checks and balances. And we're seeing in California the result of that, not having any balances. And we're seeing that in our national leadership. We're seeing Biden literally turning over the energy sector to the Russians and the Chinese, all in the name of his green agenda. And there's not even any proof that'll make any difference. Everything we're doing here in California doesn't make any difference. We were told to save the planet, recycle plastic, and now we find out 90-something% of it just ends up in a landfill. They want us to rinse out our plastic bottles before we put them in the recycling bin, thus wasting water to clean out something that's going to end up in a landfill. And they damn well knew it, and they kept doing it. They never just came clean. They never put their hands up and said, oops, this is where we made the mistake. They show us how bad it is. And still, the people of California just voted for it. Just proving that people will vote with that little letter next to the name. They voted in this state to ban menthol cigarettes and flavored vape, opening up kids to the cartels, because there are going to be people who are going to be selling vapes to kids because there's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of money in counterfeit and smuggled in menthol cigarettes that will not be controlled in any way, shape, or form, and we will not see any. Right now, I believe somewhere around 40% of cigarettes sold in California are illegal because of our high taxes on them. Imagine what happens when you take away menthol cigarettes and you take away flavored tobacco products. All right. Okay. Just big, giant black market that you've opened up. And nobody steps back and says, we got to stop doing this? No. They just continue on doing it. They're blinded. They're blinded to their own truth. That's why Purple State is so heavily against the Democrats. Not because we support the Republicans, but because the Democrats are putting things into action that are having immediately bad results, and then they're not correcting it. Gascon is an absolute failure. Why is the state attorney not stepped in and said, hey, dude, reel it in, man. Some of the shit you're doing, you're literally just protecting criminals. And then we have a chance to vote Monta out, and they say, nope, we're going to keep him. All right, that's fine. That's fine. You keep building all of your electric vehicle chargers in the middle of nowhere where nobody needs them right now, and people will just start to starve. And everybody will say that's fine because, the Republicans question the election. The Republicans question green energy. And sadly, the Republicans support abortion being outlawed. And that's what boils down the whole thing. Roe versus Wade being overturned in the Supreme Court. This election cycle is a result of that. They were able to make people focus on an issue over here and disregard the problems over here. That's not the way I want to run things. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State, and so are you. Peace, y'all.